So with that being said, I mean, I've been wanting to jump into this. We've had a lot of retirements lately. We've had J.J. Watt announce his retirement. There's a lot of questions around the league, considering Tom Brady. What's his status? It just came out. There was reports recently. He was on a podcast and he mentioned that I don't know where this is coming from, but I do plan on like playing longer. Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he signed that big extension, but he is getting older, and it doesn't seem like the Packers are progressing. It seems like they're kind of like a middle of the pack team. Um, as far as with J.J. Watt, we know that's the certain thing. That's for certain, and I think 100% respectable career, Hall of Famer for sure. Three-time defensive player of the year. The only three to other, or only two to other do it was Aaron Donald and Lawrence Taylor, obviously. And I mean, to be in conversation with those two is just, I mean, that's incredible just in general. So, how do you see this panning out with Tom Brady at least? I mean, we haven't really spoken too much about him this year, but how do you see the cards playing out for him?
It's really tough to see, where Brady stands at this point. I think obviously their season so far has been a disappointment. They can still make the playoffs and win that division, but they're in, one of the worst divisions in football at this point. None of those teams are very good. They're very sporadic. They're all very up and down. Everyone kind of the majority of people kind of give the edge to the Bucks at this point
Yeah,
because of Tom Brady. But it'd be interesting to see how things, I feel like that could affect what happens, like the future. If they make the playoffs, okay, fine. If they don't, I don't know what he wants to do, right? Because obviously Tom Brady is a guy who much older in his career. I mean, one of the
the
longest playing
outlier.
quarterbacks
Yeah.
at this point, especially at the level that he plays at. Um, you have to wonder what's next for him. If this team isn't very good, does he switch teams again? Does he just retire? I mean, he could. He's old enough. Nobody would think anything of it. Or does he just still have this itch to keep playing no matter what happens? We know about the obviously public, whatever divorce situation that he's going through. That on one hand might push him to keep playing. Now he doesn't have someone that wants him to stop playing for other reasons.
Right.
He could probably just, continue to focus on football and do what he loves. But yeah, it's certainly up in the air. And Tom Brady talks, he doesn't talk a lot. It's just whenever he says something, it becomes big news. Uh, I don't know how much you can trust what he says. Not that he lies. It's just
Never really know what the
yeah, I mean, he says, "Oh, he doesn't know where it comes from." Okay, sure, but then if he wants to retire, he'll just retire, and you know what I mean.
nah,
So, and we've seen him announce retirements before
and
just
then
to
come right
come
out.
back.
Nah.
You know what I mean? And then he comes back, and then he has to take a leave of absence for the team. And then it's the whole saga with the wife, and then now he's back, but then the team's not doing good. So with Tom Brady, it's kind of all up in the air. As far as Aaron Rodgers goes, tough season for Aaron Rodgers. The guy still has it.
Yeah,
He could
100%.
certainly continue to play football. His supporting cast definitely leaves a lot to be desired in terms of, putting him in position to win. He has one of the better defenses that he's had with the Packers. It's just the offense is just
Just
not
not
good.
doing well at all.
They're not consistent. They don't have reliable weapons for him. I mean, we've seen the emergence of people like Christian Watson. We've seen Lazard be able to be a little bit more effective later on in the second half of the season, but um, it's another one where if I mean I don't know for my money I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs. I mean they can, and it's almost weird how they're now sitting at the same record as a bunch of other teams that are they're all gonna be fighting for that playoff spot. Um, I just don't know if they're gonna do it.
Yeah,
So my guess would be they probably don't make the playoffs, and if they happen to squeak in, they're probably getting
they'll probably
booted
be out
out
the
in the
first
first
round.
round.
Yeah,
Um, it just comes down to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers seems more to me like a guy who's more I'm here to, do what I need to do, but why, he doesn't seem like someone who's just going to stick it out because he just loves football so much.
Yeah.
Not that he doesn't love it. He clearly does, because when you hear him talk and talk about the intricacies of the game, and all the little details and all the little adjustments and what he saw here to help him here. Um, Clearly a very intelligent guy, and someone who obviously puts a lot of time into it and definitely cares about the game. But I think he has enough other outside interest, and he's just that type of almost like more of an interesting persona, where I don't think he'd have a hard time leaving the game.
Yeah.
So when it gets to this late in his career, and we know he's openly discussed thinking about retirement.
Right.
So he could retire at any moment, in my opinion. And I think if this team doesn't make the playoffs, or even if it does, if he gets the feeling that this team is so far away from being the type of team that he wants to be on to chase a championship, he might not come back. Because I mean, if you're Aaron Rodgers, why would you come back to a team and you're gonna be 6-win team
Yeah,
and
it's not
go
worth
through
it.
all the ups and downs of a regular season to just be a 6-win football team? It's kind of hard to do that. I mean, it's hard to be on that type of team for anybody, let
Mm.
alone a Hall of Fame, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
That's 39 years
Yeah,
old.
so we'll see how that goes, but yeah, in my opinion, I wouldn't be surprised if the guy retired at any time. I think, like I said, I probably expect him to keep playing, but if he doesn't see any upside in it, then I think he's just gonna be out.
Yeah.
Or worse, he might be in a situation where he has to force some ugly trade scenario, and
Nah.
it's a
Kind of
whole
like how Brett Favre
saga.
did.
Yeah, but it's gonna be messy, man, because the media is already kind of like not on his side. They kind of
Yeah.
paint him to be like a kind of like a
A
douchebag, an
villain. Yeah.
asshole. And so it's just like, if that happens, man, it's gonna be a nasty saga, and I don't know if it's worth his career
His
to do
legacy to
that,
get tarnished.
especially
Yeah.
with how media has evolved. Where look, we go back and we see the old clips of older football games. I mean, the clips now are nobody talks about it, but they're gonna live forever too. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a million more of them, and a lot of them, in his case, will be negative for this,
Uh,
and it'll almost be similar to, I think, like a TO type of thing,
mm.
where like it gets held against him. And I just don't think that's worth it for his career. At
Yeah.
least now, nobody could take anything from him. He stayed with the Packers. He played out his career there. He did a lot of great things. He won a championship. To be a one team kind of guy still means something.
Yeah.
And like I said, unless he's gonna find a way to get out in the quiet way where it's not messy, I think it's better off for him to just
Just
retire than
retire.
to
Yeah.
force a trade or force to get out of his contract and go to who knows what team he's gonna end up there anyways. He might
Yeah.
he might have a similar situation as the Packers. I mean, look
Right.
at Russell Wilson, so who knows how those things go.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see, especially being that Aaron Rodgers is his talent is still there.
Hmm.
I don't think anybody will say like, "Oh yeah, this is in part." I think maybe there's one game, I believe it was the Lions game, where he had like 3 interceptions, and that's like, can you say that's age, or can you say that's just a bad game on a
Hmm.
bad day? There's a lot of quarterbacks that are phenomenal, and everybody has their bad day. But out of them, I think he's least likely. But like you said, it really just depends on the trajectory of how the Packers approach this next offseason. I think there's a lot of things and a lot of holes that they have to fill in. So we'll see what happens then.